Apparently I'm live. Welcome, good evening, morning. How's it going? Yeah. Oh man. Waking up. Late night. Disappointing judge's decision last night in the John Jones fight. Those judges were stupid and incorrect all night long. And I was sent a link. They had a conversation, Intelligence Squared. And when was the date on this? That would have been, well, February 4th this year. But this was filmed earlier, but they just released it. The West should pay reparations for slavery. The West. Okay, so the reason they say that is because this is taking place in England, I believe, and there's English people on the panel, so somehow they like to include themselves in a discussion about reparations. It's weird. It's weird how England and other places, Canada, Australia, they sort of take the regurgitated sloppy second talking points from America. So England's history with slavery is completely different than America. I think I was watching Voltaire's Ghost today, and he said, "God, did she just turn the dishwasher on? Motherfucker!" Um, he was talking about they ended slavery in like 1830 something at great cost to them, and he made the point that the Africans were still doing slavery at the time, but no one's asking the Africans to reach into their pocketbook. Isn't that interesting? We're not going to the descendants of the tribal warlords over in West Africa and saying, "Hey, I think you owe us some money." No? Oh, okay. We're going to hit up the West, the Western governments. So let's take a look. I mean, I haven't watched it at all, but I know some of the players involved, and they're awful. We have a mulatto. I'm sure it's like they have different perspectives, but we'll see. Crowd is mixture. Interesting. I mean, to even show up for this, it's an absurd premise. It's like, should we kill all the Jews or not?
Hello, and welcome to this Intelligence Squared debate
She has a lisp. Welcome to this intelligence debate. Okay, kind of a shambolic setup here, but all
on the
right.
motion that the West should pay reparations for slavery.
I object that the moderator is black. I feel that is a bias. I think it should be an Asian.
The
And I is that a dashiki?
issue of
Everything is a dashiki. What the fuck is happening here? Is she pregnant? Or her tits are sitting on her beer belly?
reparations has gathered momentum and a renewed sense of urgency in recent years. In America, Senator
All right, there's some empty seats there. It's a small theater. In America, Senator Cory Booker,
Elizabeth Warren,
Elizabeth Warren, of all the Democratic senators.
who is running for the Democratic presidential nomination, has backed reparations for African Americans.
Oh, goody, goody. Elizabeth Warren is completely cucked out of her skull. Fuck her.
And closer to home, at the recent Labour
So wait, it's all blacks? This is the All Blacks, the New Zealand rugby team. We got Blackett, black. I mean, this was mulatto. This is an African. That's we have a little white in her. That's a half a Jew, and that's Jesus. That's a shadow. I don't even think. I think that's her shadow.
Party conference, senior figures called for reparations, including the Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell, who suggested
The
that
shadow
one way the Britain
chancellor.
would do this would be through sharing free or
Hello.
cheap
Ha.
green
Ha. Check.
technology
Check.
with its former colonies. Cambridge University has announced that it will investigate its links with slavery and how the university gained financially from it.
Yes.
And Glasgow University has become the first British university to set up a reparative justice scheme,
Fucking
committing to pay
God.
20 million in reparations.
I was just talking to my girlfriend this morning about the power of money, and that money is not a joke. Money is time, and time is your life. Now, any realistic human being knows that you have a finite amount of time. So if you're going to spend that time, I mean, money is just a representation of the essence of your life. So think of the Gelflings in Dark Crystal. You know how you can suck the essence out? That's like having a job. Or that's, it's represented in money, and it is powerful and is not to be taken lightly. So if these people think that they're going to take money from the collective, from what we all chip into. They are taking your life essence. That's what's happening there.
To atone for the university's links to the slave trade. But not everybody agrees that this is the best way forward. They argue that we are
Yeah, I don't agree. You get nothing. I take a Rorschach stance on this. And if you're putting your little greedy little hand out saying, oh, remember the history, give me the money. Fuck you. No, this is the shakedown. I deny this. I don't allow it. In no world would I stand for this. And I almost kind of wish it would happen, though. I wish it would happen for the I told you so that would come. Because I'm almost looking forward to, let's just get it over with. Put the nail in the coffin on race relations in this world and give one race a bunch of money. Smart choice, nations. Let's see how that works for you. Let's see what it does for the trust in the government.
talking about crimes committed by and to people long since
Lips much?
gone. They argue that the costs would cripple economies and hurt the people reparations claim to want to help. So that's what we're going to be debating tonight.
No, it's a moral abomination. Fuck you, we owe you nothing. You're not taking from our money that could be spent on a multitude of other things, like what it's supposed to be spent on, and giving it to you. You haven't earned it. You don't deserve it. It's an absolute joke.
And so, without further ado, let's open up the debate. Our first speaker for the motion is Kahinde Andrews.
Oh,
He is
right.
a prof-
Probably one of the most, I mean, God, he's irritating. He's petty. He's angry. He has issues. He hates white people. He's a blatant racist. He thinks of himself as a Malcolm X wannabe. He threats. He makes threats about killing people. I mean, he has a violent undertone to him. He wants revolution. He wants large scale change. He has a hunchback.
professor of Black Studies at Birmingham
Professor of Black Studies in Birmingham. Go back to Notre Dame, you fucking hunchback.
University, a regular opinion writer for The Guardian, and was part of the team that launched the first Black Studies degree in Europe.
Wow.
He is author of Back to Black,
If I imagine white studies, if I took a white study, hey Devin, what'd you major in college? White studies? It's unacceptable.
retelling Black radicalism for the 21st
Ah, black radicalism. He's reclaiming the word. Yeah, radical is not a bad thing. It's a great thing.
century. His family is from Jamaica, and he is a descendant of enslaved
Yeah, he's Jafaican. Oh, descend.
Africans.
How are you? Oh, there was slavery in Jamaica. Hmm.
Okay.
I like that. It's an intelligent square debate, and it's 5 bleeps on the stage. What the fuck?
Okay, so thank you. In 2018, the HMRC, it was a Treasury, released a tweet that had a surprising Friday fact. Now, you may know what this fact was, as they tweeted it, incorrectly actually, that millions of you have helped end the slave trade through your taxation. Because and this is actually incorrect, because actually the
Igor.
slave trade and slavery are different things, which is something lost on the Treasury and lost on most commentators on this issue. The slave trade was abolished in 1807 by the United Kingdom after the fear of
1807.
Africans in the Haitian Revolution.
Right. The Haitian Revolution is sickly. A talking point for these people. They think that's a massive success, where these people butchered women and children, and just, I mean, it was a massacre. And by the way, I think they got slaughtered as well. They got put down. So it's an ugly. If you want to look at the history of Haiti, it doesn't reflect well on this, lovely revolution they had, or just the peoples of Africa. I mean, the success of Haiti itself should be a warning to the entire universe.
Slavery continued for another 20 or so years, carried on. What the Treasury was talking about in this particular instance was the abolition of slavery in the British Empire, which did happen in 1833, or really 1834, and your tax money, you will be happy to know, merrily happy to know, went into helping end slavery. But
Look at this guy on the right. He's in the final stages of his life.
how did it do this? It did this because in order to end the system of slavery, the government paid the biggest bailout in the history of the UK economy to the slave owners.
Yeah, that's what you had to do. That's what we did in America too. We gave them money as compensation because otherwise you'd be putting them in financial ruin. And you're looking at more conflict on your hands. So this is the path of least resistance to end this practice. And he's going to bitch about the way it was done. What are you supposed to do? Stop it dead in its tracks? No, I mean, this was a very political and savvy way to get this done.
They actually paid reparations to the slave owners.
No, it's not reparations. That's propaganda for him to call it that. It was the loss of property. This is, I mean, it was a buyout. I mean, does he even understand what would have happened if they didn't do that? You're having a bloody fight on your hand there. They're not going to accept that.
A figure so large they had to take out a loan from the Treasury, a loan that was so big they only paid it back in 2015. Which means that me, descendant of slaves, my mum, descendant of slaves, my dad,
Oh,
descendant
poor
of slaves,
you.
and half of you in the room, potentially descendant of slaves, all paid slavery reparations to slave owners.
Jesus, nice twisting of logic there. No, that's not what happened. I mean, he could try to frame it however he wants, but it's an emotional plea. This is not a financial case he's making. He's saying, God, so look, we're paying slave owners. Why don't we pay the descendants of slaves? You've already paid the slave owners.
So the principle has already been established that reparations are due. The question is, who are they due to? Right? Now, worse still than the kind of merry celebration of the Treasury of this fact is that that wasn't the only reparation that was paid to the slave owners by the British. When slavery ended, they had a period of 4 years of apprenticeship, where the formerly enslaved had to spend half of their days working for free for the slave masters. So they had to actually pay reparations with their own labor. Again, the principle of reparations is firmly established. This didn't just happen in the UK. Denmark, Holland, Spain, all paid reparations to slave owners. In fact, Haiti, as I already mentioned,
This was hundreds of years ago.
the price of their freeing themselves, liberating themselves from France, was in 1825. They submitted to a 150 million franc debt to the French in reparation to who? Slave owners. An amount of money so large that it took 122 years for Haiti to pay off. In fact, one of the reasons Haiti is the poorest country in the world today is
Pause. Haiti is the poorest country in the world today, but it's not their fault. Is because what?
because of it had to pay that debt off for 122 years.
I feel like other countries have paid off large debts. Remember Germany? Germany paid huge amount of reparations after World War One and Two, excessively after World War One, and ridiculously a lot after World War Two. I mean, we're talking about billions of dollars, and somehow they managed to do it, and now they're in the positive, and they are the strongest economy in Europe. How did they do it? But Haiti has just been in the doldrums for hundreds of years. Oh my God, we're gonna dance around some obvious things here.
So when we talk about the idea of slavery being something in the past, we are being completely ignorant.
Uh, so he's trying to tell you slavery is now. It's a modern thing. It's happening now. The legacy, the echoes, right? So we want money now. Money's going to solve it. I mean, how despicable it is. It is truly despicable that after all this bullshit, after all their racism, after all the animosity, after all their crippling insecurity about their history and the humiliation that they personally feel, even though nothing has personally happened to them, and at the end, they just want money. It just comes down to money. How sad is that? I mean, you know who is not asking for money? Asians, Jews. Do you know why not? Because they make money. They're doing fine. Indians, Nigerians in America, they're not begging for this. But it's just a coincidence that the poorest people in our country and around the world, especially Jamaica, Haiti, go look at the averages, go look at the gross national product. They are the ones that are like, oh, bail us out. I wonder, does Jamaica do they want money? Does Haiti want money? Apparently, the blacks in England want money.
Because up until 2015, me and you were still paying off this debt. Again, a debt so large. It represented 40% of the British government's purse at that time. 40%. Imagine.
So the whites of England spent a huge fortune to end the practice of slavery. But you want more money.
40% of the government's purse and 5% of GDP. In today's money, that is £100 billion. Reparations to who? The slave owners. So why I've established that reparations are well established in the history of law and went to the slave owners.
No, it's not easy. Like you just say reparations is a word that I'm going to apply to compensating slave owners for the loss of property. And now I'm just going to apply that same standard and be like, oh, it's the exact same. Do it now. I mean, I know you did it back then and it's for a different group of people, totally different reasoning. But now there's a different case. We owe these people money just because, I mean, those people are all dead. So it's just amazing the breaks in logic. You could spell this out. I need a chalkboard just to be like, he tried to do this to you. It doesn't work for these reasons. Now, I mean, just move along.
I could probably stop and sit down for the next 6 minutes, but I won't. I will carry on and give you more evidence of why reparations are due, right? So we've established the slave owners got a lot of money. This money went to people like, it went to the church, it went to government, it went to companies, it went to people like David Cameron's family, and this money still actually is with us in the economy today. What I really want to stress for you here is this is not an issue of something that happened in the past, because the wealth that was derived from slavery is still with us today.
They didn't burn the wealth, so they didn't liquidate it in form of gold coins and then just melt those coins and then bury it in the earth. No, so money doesn't go away, therefore it's a present issue, not an issue from the past. Wow, what a precedent that is. There is no past. How could there be a past? He just took linear time and dry humped it into oblivion. If something happens in the past, it affects things and there's a causal link to the present. Therefore, there is nothing that is truly in the past. There is only the present. Now give me your money.
So when we talk about the West really emerges after 1492 when Columbus sails the ocean blue. I'm sure you have heard the story which has been dubbed Once Upon a Genocide. After they had...
Genocide, a laugh line for you? There was no genocide. Columbus had nothing to do with any genocide. I did a massive Columbus video. I think it was probably back during Columbus Day. And it's fun. I'll revisit that because the weakness and stupidity that you see with the bleeps and all this like pathetic attempt to shake us down for cash and their view of history is the exact same. It's mirrored with Native Americans. Different scenarios, but the same underlying character flaw of humanity, which is just narcissism and weakness and greed. I mean, we're talking 7 deadly sins stuff here.
After they had killed 98% of the natives of the Americas.
After they killed, who's they? And what do you mean? What 98%? Give me a stat that says 98% of. Does anyone believe that? No, of course not. And I think 99% of the deaths caused to any Native American come from disease, unintentional death because of the livestock we had and the European diseases. And yeah, learned this from Voltaire's Ghost too. You know who cured smallpox? A British guy. And you know what they did with the cure? They sent it around the world. So, I mean, it's just pathetic. But again, the emotional plea, what he's saying is, these white people are so terrible. They did slavery. I mean, Africans did slavery too, but okay, these are the ones that they ended slavery and they paid for it out of their own pocketbook. But also they were killing people. They killed 98% of the Native Americans. What? Get the fuck out of here. You're not better than anyone, dude.
They needed labor in order to build what became, and it's not a coincidence, America is the leader of the free world, the richest country on the planet.
Right.
It's because the founding of the Americas was absolutely essential to the development of the West.
Okay. That statement means nothing. The founding of America was essential for the development of the West. The West didn't exist. I mean, it's like the founding of a country was foundational to the founding of the country. Right. So this is the part where they tell you that picking cotton is the cornerstone of what we've built in America. America wouldn't be America if not for cotton pickers. Yeah, just like California wouldn't be California if not for the migrant laborers picking crops in the farms of California. Yeah, just out there doing manual labor. Somehow that is the essential ingredient. It's not the architects or the engineers or the brilliant minds in Silicon Valley or the entrepreneurs or the businessmen or the scientists or the innovators No, it's the fucking day laborers. It's the help. It's the maid. It's the gardener. Sorry, pal, you're not special. You weren't special. You're completely replaceable. In every way, replaceable. You did not build America. You were not essential. You were not needed. Jesus Christ, you were exploited. And not you personally. It wasn't even, I mean, God, we're taking history personally here, aren't we?
And whose labor was it that developed
Right.
America?
So no whites were engaged in labor, apparently. Go tell that to the Irish. Fucking hell, tell it to the Chinese. Tell it to any immigrant group that came to America. What do you mean? Oh, yeah, it was the cotton pickers. Those are the dudes. Where would we be without those cotton pickers? Fucking hell.
The Americas. When I say the Americas, I mean North America, the
And you see what it is. It's a psychological plea because this guy doesn't feel uplifted. He doesn't feel like he's important or special or a victor. He's not victorious in history. And so he has to reframe it, rethink it. My people, I come from kings. They were kings. Well, were they kings? No, they were actually slaves. We was slaves. Well, that doesn't sound good. Okay, well then the slaves were doing some magical work. They're like these really dark elves. And they make these super duper toys. One of the toys they made was the West, America. It's their response. They did it. They should take the credit for it. No, actually, you were just picking shit in a field. Okay? My God. I mean, the lack of accuracy in understanding how a city is built, how a nation is built, what happened in history. This is an astonishing rape of the facts. Go take a class, go to a college class and say, how was America built to being America? Yes, there was slavery. Yes, there were, I mean, plantations. That's a minor part, very unbelievably minor part.
Caribbean, Latin America. It was enslaved.
And also, I mean, what do you think the overall population of slaves was in America? Do you think it's 10%? Hell fucking no. We're talking about a small minority of people here.
Africans. Millions upon millions of people taken, stolen from Africa to
Stolen from
do the work
Africa.
for free
Oh, for free. Well, poor Africans. Oh, poor you.
for 300 years.
And do you like how he's attempting to leverage the slave situation in America? This dude's a Jamaican living in England. And he's trying to piggyback on the guilt of slaves in America. The fuck is that about? This is like me going, you know what? I need money. Why? Why do you need money, Devin? Because my Russian brothers during the early part of the 20th century they were starved by their government, and I don't think they were given a fair shake. And I think there were certain crimes against humanity that they had to suffer through. There was mass starvation, and there were wrongs committed. Okay, well, what about it? That was 100 years ago. You're not them. Yeah, but they were white. The whites of Russia in the early part of the 20th century were white. I'm white. How do I not deserve money right now?
The biggest lie the West will tell you is that when they encountered Africa, Asia, the other parts of the world, they were advanced. And because of this advancement, we were able to have capitalism and what we call so-called civilization.
Right. What you had in Africa before we met you, that was civilization. Under what universe, in what context, could you even state that with a straight face? I mean, no written language, no mirrors. That's a fun toy that we used to show them. And look, it's you. Here's a mirror. Check it out. How are they in science? How are they on medicine? How are they on physics? How are they on astrology? No, not astrology. I'm sure they're probably pretty good on astrology. How are they on astronomy? I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but how are they on the wheel? How were they on the wheel? My God. I've seen. Who is it that takes a stick? Isn't it a certain monkey that take a stick and they dip it into an ant hole? Did they figure that out yet? Could they figure out a way to get ants out of an ant hill?
This is actually untrue. In 1492, Europe was coming out of a dark age.
Oh, now he's throwing shade at Europe, right? So you want to go head to head Europe? I'll take Europe during the Dark Ages over every other place. I mean, the Dark Ages was a time. It's only a Dark Age relative to what came before and what came after it. If you compare the Dark Ages of Europe to any age of Africa, you're gonna lose that battle. Again, basics in history. But I guess the word dark, the Dark Ages, oh, that's terrible. I mean, yeah, God. I guess they were doing fuck all. It was still better than Africa. And guess, of note, guess who lifted Europe out of the Dark Ages? The Europeans. Fucking hell.
And was the only place on the planet that had actually was in a dark age at that period.
Right. So the Renaissance did that occur in Africa? When was the African Renaissance? What benefits did the African nations have by their contact with white men of the West? Every benefit. Do you want to go list the things that Africa has now that they wouldn't have if they hadn't met us? I mean, that would be a fucking scroll that went from the tip of Alaska down to Baja California.
Time. Europe was not advanced in 1492. Europe had
Oh, guys, we've advanced more. We weren't advanced. Is advanced like a binary thing? You're either advanced or you're not. It's not a spectrum of advancement. No, Europe was not advanced, guys. Well, are we advanced now? Who's more advanced now? You want to talk about advancement? I mean, are we doing dick measuring here? Okay, so thanks. It's a major gotcha, guys. In Europe in the 1400s, we weren't as great or advanced as we are now. You fucking primitive, Caucasoid, cave dwelling, Becky, fucking Brady. What's a white guy name? Tom?
to unveil itself to the Eastern empires in order to get into them. And one of the primary ways that Europe and the West became rich was through the enslavement of
You got to be kidding me. It, well, first of all, through conquest and exploration and seeking riches and natural resources in new worlds. So it is through hard work, sweat, labor, white labor, and that yes, they had portions of African labor, but it's a minor part of this. What part of manual look? Put it this way: how did humans get to where humans are? Did we do it by out wrestling bears and tigers and Tyrannosaurus Rex? Did we bench press them? Did we smash them with our mighty arms? No, we used our brains. So intellectual labor, ingenuity, that's where true advancement comes from. That's why Europe got out of the Dark Ages. That's why we cured smallpox. That's why we invented airplanes and cars. That's why. And spaceships and the internet. We didn't do it by picking cotton. We didn't do it by just grunt work in a field. How could you not understand that? I mean, the guy is desperate to reframe history so that he comes out like the golden child of the whole thing. Like, oh my God, we really created the world and we're the greatest, most noble creatures in the fucking universe. And we've never done anything wrong. We're morally impeccable,
African people. The three
which is obscene. They're literally raping babies in South Africa right now. Right now, a man is penetrating a baby's vagina. So don't give me that fucking shit.
300-year cycle of the triangular trade that generated so much wealth, it accelerated the Western capitalism and built the world we have today. So
Oh, fuck, eat a bag of shit. Like, yeah, trade. We couldn't have done trade without the Africans. There was no trade happening. Right, go tell it to the Vikings. We trade is not you do not get credit for global trade. Sorry, pal.
you think about somewhere like Britain, look at this city we're in today, London. London would be half its size without the wealth from slavery. Places like
No, you're calling trade you're calling imports and exports a direct result of slavery. There's nothing else. It wasn't just a small minor part of that particular trade. There's no other trade going on. So boats coming in and out. Yeah, London's London because of slavery. Eat shit. God, the guy is pathetic.
Liverpool, which was a dock, Bristol, which was also a dock, a port for the slave trade, would probably not exist in any way, shape, or form without
What? Wait, Yeah, so you're listing off port cities. Yeah, Portsmouth while we're at it. And what about it? Yes, they have boats. They go out. They come back with stuff. There's trade. There's commerce. You don't get credit for that. And that you cannot you cannot characterize trade from a port city in a country as that's the result of slavery. Without slavery, we can't have that. Do you think there's still boats going in and out? We don't have slavery now. What do you call that? Is that a different phenomenon?
The wealth derived from slavery. Even places like, I'm from Birmingham. Birmingham made the majority of guns and chains for the slave trade. And this is actually one of the ways.
I'm from Birmingham. Slavery. Just what? Non sequitur. Fucking hell. And by the way, you know what Birmingham now is a shithole. Do you know why that is? The demographics of Birmingham. Go look it up if you want to. I've never been to Birmingham, and there's a very good reason for that. I've been in and around Birmingham. I pass Birmingham because there's no reason to go to Birmingham.
Ways in which Birmingham became the powerhouse that it was.
Because no, Birmingham is not a British city anymore, just like London isn't.
And Manchester, the cotton industry, the cotton which we're so proud
Cotton.
of in the factories up north, was again directly a link seen when Liverpool opened as a slave port. They built a canal to Manchester,
So?
and it's only after that that the
So?
Manchester trade in cotton, because where did cotton get derived from? Slavery. By
Cotton is their claim to fame. It is, man, you have to have pity. You do. Cotton. That's what they're resting their. They're being prideful about the fact that they picked cotton. And by the way, I was in Manchester and I was at a hotel, and nice hotel. It's called actually Motel One, and I think it's a German company. Really nice decor, the whole thing. I mean, they use the word motel, which in America has a cheap connotation, but out there it's a very nice hotel. And each hotel, they have a specific design that is local to the region. And when I was in the Manchester Motel One, they had all these cotton mill artwork and murals on the wall, and apparently there's some history of cotton in Manchester. So that is correct. But who cares? Who fucking cares? You know how many industries there are in the world? You know how many wrongs have been committed throughout time? And again, the fact that this guy's trying to say that, you know, blacks, slaves, Africans, they can do no wrong. They did no wrong. They've done no wrong ever. Is just, it's an insult to the notion that you could understand what is true about history. But we live in a post-truth world, and we live honestly in a world where, and I've talked about this before, but it's become just ever more important today. What is more important than any sort of understanding of an objective truth is understanding how to persuade people, understanding how to tell a story. When you take a look at a lawyer, a defense lawyer, or a prosecutor, they don't know the actual truth of a case. They have circumstantial evidence. They build up a case. You know, they try to cobble something together, but really they're trying to convince 12 people in a jury or a judge of a truth that they perceive. This is what I think is true. Here's my case. And perception is reality. Because what is reality? Reality is what we say reality is. It's what we agree upon. So if you have a reality that's all your own, we call you crazy. If your reality matches up to what we consider reality, and this is loosely, like there are scientific ways to test reality, but commonly speaking, it is what we all agree is reality. And guess what? If you can convince enough people of a certain thing, then that then becomes reality. So it goes from a myth to a truth. I mean, look at religion as a perfect example of that. So I sometimes wield the power of influence. When I talk to people, and it frustrates me because I don't want people to believe what I am saying because I am influential or persuasive. Because underneath somebody's perspective and their opinions and their argument is an actual fact. It actually matters. What happened? Was America built because of cotton? Was that instrumental? Hell no, it wasn't. And to disregard every other area of industry in America and the people doing it, and just pretend that no, that's totally irrelevant. So, okay, why don't you take a bunch of Africans, throw them on a cotton field in the South, and then all of us whites, we're just going to leave, and we'll give you 150 years. Let's see what happens. You know what's going to happen? Africa, It's going to be the new Liberia. You're going to have a bunch of people. They'll be like, I don't know what the fuck are we supposed to do with this cotton. What is this? We don't know what to, we cannot process this. There's nothing to do here. Do we eat it?
By 1788, there were 180,000 people working in Manchester on money from the enslavement of African people. So even the cities we have today, the
Oh my
way the
God.
country
Everything is connected to slavery, right? It's 6 degrees of Kevin slavery bacon.
looks today is built on the wealth of slavery.
Everything is slavery. Africans just gave birth to the world. It was just this fat African woman, and she spread her legs, and then out came civilization.
Exist without it. So this isn't money that has gone away, it's money that is still here. A perfect example of this would be Lloyd's of London, UK's largest corporation, massive multi-billion corporation that celebrated its 300th anniversary a couple of years ago. CEO was on television and proudly declared they were happy to celebrate their roots in ensuring the merchant trade. She neglected to mention that trade was the slave trade.
Right, so exclusively it was the slave trade. The slave trade was a part of it for a part of time. But there was a massive other part of it. And also, by the way, they ended slavery over 200 years or around 200 years ago. So, I mean, but through his mind, he says, no, the only thing of significance here. I mean, why do you think the guy's sitting there begging for money uh, as a black man in 2020? I mean,
Right? In fact, whole industries like insurance, like many of our financial products and financial,
you know,
they
I
make
think this woman is atrocious. I'm not sure if this is the woman, but I was going to do a video on her. And she looks like, her nose, I think that is the same woman. And if it is, I can't believe she's on the other side of this.
financial capitalism what it is derived from where? Slavery, stocks, bonds. These words are not used by accident. They actually tell you the roots of where these things come
Yeah, stock, like a stockade, bond, like bondage slavery.
from. Lloyd's of London, before it was insuring slave voyages, was a coffee house. And it was a coffee house in London where they would advertise for runaway slaves. So they were the enslaved Africans in the UK. And the runaway slaves in London would be returned to where? The Lloyd's of London coffee house. This is
What? So what? Yeah, you had a slave, there was slavery. You had an escaped slave. Yeah, bring him back. Bring him the fuck back. And have him make me a latte. So? What the fuck? Hey, guys, there was slavery 200 years ago. Lloyd's, coffee, bondage, Manchester, cotton. Give me your money. Give me your fucking money right now.
how unveiled capitalism and slavery are. So when we talk, the wealth is
I like that capitalism is on the line here. How about this? Just here's a notion from the back of the room. Can we have capitalism without slavery? Or do they just go hand in hand? Is that just so slavery is going to drag down capitalism as a economic system? Oh, okay.
around us. You can see it everywhere. You can see it in these university spaces. You can see it just walk down the road. You can see the wealth. The wealth is still here. Our current system is
There is no past. I've never seen someone destroy linear time like this. The past is directly shoots right up into the present. So if you have a past wrong, it's a present wrong. Yeah.
is the way it is because of the money derived from African slavery. So
Say the word slavery again.
this gets us to the case for reparations. Unpaid labor for 300 years, untold psychological and human damage.
Oh, you want punitive damages? You want psychological? So your scars, clearly you have psychological damage, but you want us to pay for the lost therapy that the bleeps needed? And unpaid labor to who? From who? From who and to who? Whom? That's a tricky one.
And reparations, again, I remind you, significant reparations paid to the slave owners. And what did the enslaved receive? Less than nothing, not even nothing, less than nothing.
That's a mathematical impossibility, but okay.
Had to buy their freedom through work in the UK, had to buy their freedom in places like Haiti. And when we think about that, time doesn't stop.
Oh, okay. So I like how he's just spreading it out. So Haiti, we're talking Jamaica, we're talking England, but also America's shouldering a lot of the burden of this argument. And all of this is supposed to somehow put like some bleep in Manchester, put money in his pocket. Are you serious? How could you connect these dots? and be a morally serious human being.
To the enslavement of African people. When slavery ends, what happens? So Britain, my family has said Jamaica, you are left with a place in a country which is built on a plantation economy. That's all it is. There's nothing else there. There's
There's
no other.
nothing else. There's nothing else. Where? Wait, do you think the plantations were everywhere? I don't understand. There was no other part of the economy than picking cotton. That was it. Fucking hell. The guy has got some serious blinders on.
Development and plantation economy. You are left with nothing to show for your labor for the last 300 years. You are left in absolute destitute poverty. You are also, slavery ends and colonialism then continued. It's not like it just stopped and ended and finished. Malcolm X has a quote where he says,
I'm
if
quoting Malcolm X unironically. I love that.
you stab a knife 9 inches into my back and only take it at 3 inches, that's not progress. Even if you take the knife all the way out, that's still not progress. Unless you heal the wound, no progress has been made. Unfortunately, the knife is still firmly in our backs, right? Nothing has been done to redress the balance, which explains why places like Jamaica are extraordinarily
Wait a minute. If the knife were still in your back, that would mean slavery still exists. Removing the knife was, in your analogy, the ending of slavery. But you say there has to be healing. Well, let's go with the analogy. Okay, I say let's heal the dude with the knife wound. Let's heal him. And he's saying, no, let's heal that dude's great, 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 great grandchild. And to that I say he doesn't have a knife wound. So that's a harsh reality, man. Life is not fair, okay? Any group of people can make any case as pathetic as the one you're presenting and end it with saying, give me money. Just from who? From anyone. Just pick anything. It doesn't matter. And the reason you don't see this coming from other groups is because they are not dependent and reliant upon a sad, pitiful argument like this to attempt to uplift themselves as a community. You know what they do? Hard work, dedication, sacrifice. That's what they do.
poor, which explains why my family migrated from Jamaica to this country and experienced racism and still
What the
experience.
fuck? They migrated because they had a better life over there, because it's a better country, because it's a white country. That's why. Does anyone out there, are you confused why England is better than Jamaica? Go a level deeper. Why do you think Jamaica is better than Jamaica could have been? Colonialism. Left to its own devices, Jamaica has become the Jamaica of today. Post-colonial Jamaica is a horror show. I have family living in Jamaica. I've talked about Jamaica before. If you ever want to get out of the American context of a discussion of race and history or violence and crime, go to Jamaica. All the numbers are sitting right there. Break down the demographics of corruption, success, murder, rape, anything you want in Jamaica. Look at Jamaica as a country. Look at Jamaica pre-colonialism and then post or during. All phases. Look at the history of Jamaica. And the lessons of Jamaica you can apply globally. It's not an outlier. It's not an accident. And this guy, again, he comes from a fucking dump. Jamaica is a dump. It is an embarrassment. And that's his heritage. But it's not good enough. He has to relish in, well, there are people that look like me over in cotton picking plantations out in America. So he has to broaden out his humiliation. It's not good enough that you were just from Jamaica. Why don't you tell us about the white people in your bloodline? Tell us about that. Are you proud of that? Is that psychologically confusing to you? Do you have cognitive dissonance because of that? I know you have white in you. I mean, do you think this guy's taken a 23andMe? Whatever percentage it says of his European ancestry in his 23andMe are daggers. Those are, if he's 20% European, that's a 20 daggers in his back. He hates it. He hates himself.
Racism today. If you want to understand why the world is the way the world is, why racial oppression is here in America, in the Caribbean, and in Africa.
Racial oppression. Blow me. There is no such thing. The present is the present. There is no racial oppression.
But millions of people taken from Africa. The impact on the African economy was devastating.
Oh my God. What African economy? What do you, Holy God, you're telling me the African economy didn't flourish because it lost all of its good laborers? Well, they were sold, first of all, so what happened to that money? Didn't that boost up the African economy? Are you kidding me? I sound like Aid Skrillex, or who's the other guy? Carl? What are you saying? What have you ever done to help this planet? I mean, good lord. Go anyone want to study African economies in the 1400s? How about African life expectancy current day? These are ugly stats. Ugly. Or as people from Manchester like to say, oogly. Oogly. It's not pretty. There's a lot of shit that's not pretty. You want to see some other I mean, I'm about to uncork some unpretty stuff for you. I'm doing so many videos right now, you have no idea. I'm doing a video on Pete Buttigieg in the context of um, everyone's going after Pete Buttigieg, and it's hysterical because he's beating Bernie. And they're like, oh my God, no, please, no. South Bend, Indiana is where he's from. It's where he takes shit for. He takes shit for the stuff going on in South Bend because, hold on. How do I get out of here? God damn it. I don't want the map. I want the, you know what I want. Because there's gangs and violence in South Bend. Now, South Bend, I don't want this. Help me. Collapse it. Yes. I want the map legend. No, I don't want that. I just collapsed that. Ah, fuck it. Anyway, um, this breaks down all the gangs in South Bend, Indiana. And another microcosm. This is not a huge city. It's outside Chicago, basically. It's in Indiana. And this is Notre Dame, the famous college. And there's Latin gangs and there's black gangs and there's murder everywhere. And the murders have been laid out in a map, which I am breaking down. And I'm going into every one of these cases. And they are astonishing. Here's the murders from 2018 in South Bend. And it's like, I'm going into these and they're all black. It's black perps and it's black victims. And Pete Buttigieg somehow is responsible for all this shit. And it's maddening. Now, this is one example out of thousands. I mean, there's so many damn. Hold on. Reparations. Let me do Google Maps. And let me just. Let's glance over the world. So here I am in Rio. It's beautiful, man. The lagoon is fantastic. Jesus sitting on the hill here. We are in here at Ipanema, Copacabana. I mean, my girlfriend just walked from this far end of Copa and just came all the way through. Last time we were here, we stayed in this area here. There's a beautiful rock here with a great view. There's a huge mountain here with a favela. You know how it is in Ipa. But I actually have to go back to, and we just came from Iguazu Falls right here. The Iguazu Falls, which are gorgeous, one of the seven wonders of the world. Massive uh, waterfalls there. But then I'm going back to Buenos Aires because I have reasons. I got business to attend to in Buenos Aires. I'm on some James Bond shit right there. Now, after Buenos Aires, I am flying north to Phil Anselmo. No, I'll leave him alone. I'm going up to Los Angeles, and you know, I was looking at crime in Los Angeles. So here's the thing: crime in South Bend, which is out here, right here, 26% black, South Bend, and it's a dangerous city, and it has major gang problems and a lot of murder, and it's fucked up, and it's the bleeps that are doing it. Out here in Los Angeles, bleeps are 9% of Los Angeles. Think of all the murder, all the gangs, the Crips, the Bloods, the Straight Outta Compton, the LA riots, all that shit. That's 9% are doing that. Imagine if LA had 26% bleeps. It would be a goddamn shit show. My God. So you would have to be a dunce to not pick up patterns. And it's wildly apparent. And you can go case by case. St. Louis, Missouri is the most dangerous city in America. You think that's a coincidence? Kansas City got mad gangsters there. I just did the worst 25 cities in America, and I told you the percentages in them. But this dude's talking about, oh no, remember the cotton? Remember there was cotton picked right here. There's cotton picked right here. And that built the America and it built the West. And that's the cause of civilization. So give me money. Give me money up here in Manchester because, there was cotton picking that other people did. It's just not a it's not a solid argument.
What slavery did was it ushered in a world of white supremacy,
Ha!
the creation of the Negro, the idea that I am not fully human and can
We
be
created
used as a beast of burden.
no, 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 no. You had slavery before white people saw Africa. There's slavery in all directions, from all races, from all civilizations. So, I mean, it's written in the Bible, pal. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, they didn't invent Negroes either. So that's a concoction from your mulatto brain.
It created the idea of white supremacy, black on the bottom, white on the top, and everybody else in between. And if you look today at global inequality,
No, us versus them has always been around. That's tribalism that predates white people. And this is, again, go to the Bible. The Bible's rules about how to conduct behavior between groups changed depending on the group. So it said, the Hebrews, you treat other Hebrews like this. For the heathens and the outsiders, no, fuck them. They don't count. It doesn't matter. So do not try to put that on white people. White people are not the devil. Eat my balls.
what do you see? Africa, black at the bottom. The West, largely white at the top.
Why do you think Africa's at the bottom? I mean, does he think that's a fluke, an accident? Africa's at the bottom because you tell me how we're grading this. And life expectancy, economic success, scientific achievement, um, cultural achievement, harder to measure, but I mean, equally valid. I mean, there's no comparison to be had here. So reality and life is a certain way. You look at it, you look at the facts, you go, oh, that is the way it is. That's the way it is here. That's the way it has been here. Compare it to this country. Oh my God, there are differences. And he blames those differences on the people at the top of those differences, on the non-shit end of that stick. It's not our fault that we do well. We didn't set out and say, oh, let's excel. Let's develop medicine and science and build up great societies. Why? So we can wag our finger at other people who didn't do that and say, fuck you, we're better than you. No, that's not how it worked. This is an accident of history that we came and found you and you were where you were in your development.
And
And it's not an accident. I mean, it's anything but an accident.
everybody else in between. The legacy of slavery is not something past, it is something with us. And there is a
Yeah.
substantial debt owed
So something that has ended hundreds of years ago is not in the past. That's what he just told you.
to those who suffered from it. Thank you.
Those who suffered from it, and he's indicating modern day people suffer from slavery, which is an untruth. Why would you applaud that? All right, I got to see if this girl is the girl I'm talking about. I think she is.
Thank you, Kinde. Next up, we have
Kinde.
our first speaker
And what's his real name? It's got to be Harry or Tom.
against the motion, Catherine Barbel Singh. Catherine is headmistress and co-founder of Macadia Community School in London. She's the author of 2 books, including To Miss with Love, based on her blog describing her experiences teaching at an inner-city secondary school. Her mother is Jamaican and her father is Guyanese. She is a descendant of slaves, slave owners,
Jamaican and Guyanese? How does she get this color?
and indentured laborers.
I like how they are proud. She's the descendant of people who are completely dominated. It's just like, and they're wearing it like a badge of honor. I am the descendant of famous, successful people, doctors, lawyers, soldiers, businessmen, conquerors. My family came over with William the Conqueror. Sorry. Jealous? She's the descendant of a toucan.
Well, I don't actually disagree with lots of what Kinde said.
Oh, really? The shocking. A panel of 5 bleeps talking about reparations, and our side, the person representing the non-reparation side, gets up and says, I agree with everything the guy who's pro-reparations just said? Fucking hell. Can we get some European? Can we get some Anglo-Saxon action? Saxon action. Up in there.
Except for his conclusion, of course, that reparations should be paid. Slavery was an abomination. And if you read about the terrible things done to slaves, it's hard not to
Head
cry.
mistress. What is she Cruella de Vil?
But today's debate isn't about whether or not
Is
slavery
this Anthony Weiner?
was bad or good. It's about whether the West should pay reparations for slavery. Which West ought to pay? The Portuguese who brought the slaves? The Dutch
All of them. We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. European Union. How about that?
who provided the boats? The British who provided the insurance? The Portuguese, Spanish, and French who ran the largest colonies? And what of the African people who sold their brothers and sisters in exchange for guns, allowing them to grow their own kingdoms? Then there's Brazil. Is it part of the West?
Yeah, I'm in Brazil. There's some Africans here. Had an Uber driver. He was an African, otherwise known as a descendant of slavery. I'm about to go out into the streets of Ipanema, and I'm going to eat Indian food. It's a beautiful culture here, very friendly people. I will say, in defense of the Bleepitudes, or the Bleep persona, had a very nice encounter with a Bleep. A lot of Bleeps down here. You have very amiable, pleasing encounters. There was a woman at a hamburger shop I was at, restaurant, and she was helping me with my Wi-Fi and my phone plan, and she was kind. She was attentive. She listened. She was warm. She had a nice smile. It was all authentic. I sensed her energy, and her energy was pleasant, and it was giving, and it was nurturing, and I suckled at her black teat. No, but it was honestly like charming, friendly, and just she didn't have to do that. Like I was just a Joe Blow customer, and it's an experience from a dark skin. We're talking like black as night skinned woman that you will not get in America. Typically, you will not get that. You walk into a KFC or whatever, people might be courteous, but they're not going to go out of their way. This was uniquely different, and it's another part of traveling, and I recommend you do it. And again, do not just be focused on the individual things. There are patterns. There's a story being told. There's information in the individual experience that goes beyond just that individual experience. You have to gather it. You have to assess it correctly. It's not firm. It's not saying, oh, well, I guess all Brazilians are like that. No, obviously there's gray zones and it's rough around the edges, but there are true narratives being told.
Of the 12 million Africans that were shipped across the Atlantic, Brazil received nearly 5 million of them. So why are we only discussing whether the West should pay for reparations for
Right. Let's hit up Brazil for those reparations. Let's see how that works.
slavery? Hard to come up with an answer. So let's put aside the complexities of who might pay for these reparations and turn our minds instead to who might be the specific recipients of the money. What I want to know is, what am I going to get out of this? I mean,
So are professors of Black Studies in Birmingham who of Jamaican descent going to get money from America? England? Are you kidding me?
after all, I'd quite like a new car. Perhaps I could upgrade my flat and get something nice just off the corner of Oxford Street. And I'm definitely entitled. Yes, sorry, my parents come from the Caribbean. My mother is Black Jamaican. But then my father,
Uh-oh.
well, he doesn't really come from slaves. He's Indo-Caribbean from Guyana. Of course, his people were indentured servants. When slavery was abolished, Indians were taken to the Caribbean to take the place of the slaves who had been freed. Somebody had to do the work. My father's family lived in the same huts as the slaves once did, were tied to the same families as the slaves once were. Just instead of my father's grandparents being bought and sold, instead it was their contract of indenture that was bought and sold and obligated them to work for the time period set by their owners. The conditions were horrific. My illiterate grandmother might have told you all about this herself, had the poverty and environment that engulfed Indian indentured laborers in the Caribbean not been so grotesque that she died when my father was only 6 years old. But I'll forget that story, because my father's mother and their people weren't slaves, and that isn't going to deliver me the cash.
There you
is
go.
it?
It's about a cash
I'll
grab.
stick with my Black Jamaican mother.
There you go.
I'm not sure what we do with people like Kamala Harris, one of the candidates for the Democratic
Half
nomination
Indian, half what is she? Is she Jamaican?
for the U.S. presidency. Her mother is from India. Her father is from Jamaica.
There it is.
Her father admits that his family owned slaves.
Oh, shit.
Does she get a piece of the pie? Barack Obama is black, but his mother is white and descends from slave owners.
He gets nothing.
Like so many mixed-race people. So do they get half payments instead of full payments? How is this all meant to work, anyway? I'll tell you one way in which it might work.
You know what's great? Not once in these defenses, and that's a valid point, but it's a minor point. There's 1,000 other major points. Like, it's totally immoral. It's totally immoral to take our money today to pay off the sins of, I mean, is it not a common expression, the sins of my father? I'm not responsible for the sins of my father. I'm not responsible for the sins of people completely in the distant past. Are you kidding me? So don't try to make the case that, okay, but here's my point. Why is no one mentioning the impact of reparations on white people, on the race, and not just whites, maybe Hispanics, Asians too, anybody who isn't getting the money? So if you think that giving the government money to a one race within your country is not going to have an impact on the other races that are not getting it, and there's no consideration of that, they don't understand the resentment, the vitriol, the bitterness. We would consider them a joke. We already consider huge portions of their communities as a thorn in our side, a stain, an embarrassment. When I go through the lists of the most livable countries and the most livable cities in the world, do you know what I don't find? I don't find America. Wait, I thought America was a city on a hill. I thought it was the best country in the world. What happened to that? And do you know, a little piece of me dies because I think, fuck, I thought America was pretty good. I mean, I've had a good time there. I've been to many parts of America and they're quite fantastic. I understand its flaws. I understand it has a dark underbelly. But you're telling me Switzerland is that much better? Germany's that much better? Australia? Canada? Well, you know what? You know what Uncle Devin did? I went out and said, I'm going to go research the world. And I went to Switzerland, and I've lived in Switzerland. I was living there last year for a long time, many, many months. Basel. I was living in Basel, Switzerland. And then I went to Bern, and I spent time in Bern and Zurich. And it is fucking fantastic. It is tranquil. It is peaceful. It's not even what it has, which is peace, harmony, efficiency. It's just a working society, first world, top class. What it has is what it doesn't have, which is the problems we face in South Bend, in Los Angeles, and just ghetto, nonsensical bullshit from these communities. And there's other things involved. It's not exclusively that. It's not. I'm not saying that's the one and only problem in America. We got Steve Shives for starters. We got other fucking hillbilly nonsense going on. And then I went to Australia and I lived in Melbourne. And you know what Melbourne is? Amazing. Fucking fantastic. And you know what the problem of Melbourne was? Machete attacks. Uh, Gang robberies. You know who's doing it? Africans. The two gangs of Melbourne are African-based gangs. There are no white gangs. Never heard of a single one. You have a drunk guy, you get a bar fight, you have a murder here and there. Nothing like what those two gangs are doing. Apex and Menace to Society or something like that. Those are the names of the gangs. I went to Canada. Fantastic, Canada. I'm going to go back to Canada. I'm going back to Toronto. Uh, why is Toronto in the top? Why is Vancouver in the top? Montreal? Why? Do you know the problems that Toronto has? It has problems in some of its cities. Some of its suburbs are not as good as others. There are parts of downtown. There are parts of Mississauga. Do you know who's in Mississauga? Bleeps, disproportionately. Do you know the gangs of Toronto are not anywhere as bad as the gangs of America? But do you know who makes up those gangs? It's not. It's not Canadian hockey goons. It's black people. And those are the neighborhoods to be avoided. My girlfriend went to a black neighborhood in Melbourne looking for a job. There was a job interview. She went there. She goes, "Holy shit, Australia is a dump. It is sketchy as fuck. What is going on here?" And I was like, "Why did you go to that neighborhood?" I did some research. I was like, "That's the worst neighborhood in Melbourne. What are you doing out there? Get away." Germany. Germany also on the top list. Munich, Freiburg is a beautiful place. Berlin, Hamburg, all these cities, fantastic. Um, why are they most livable? Why are they ideal? Is it what they have? Yeah, sure, it's what they have. Is it what they don't have? Yes. Yes, it's what they don't have. I don't know if you are sitting in the place of your birth, if you are sitting in a place that you went to school there, you have a girlfriend, you bought a dog, boom, you're static. You don't get out much. What I'm telling you is you should get out And if you don't want to get out, and if you don't want to spend the time and invest in that, then just listen to somebody who has been out. And I've been out, and I've been to New Orleans. I'm in Rio de Janeiro right now. I was just living in Buenos Aires. I've been to Africa multiple times. This is my 4th time in Rio. You learn stuff. You learn things. And one thing I'm learning, and I think it might be the most important thing of all, is having the courage and the bravado to say with unflinching certainty that white nations are the best nations on earth. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm in fact proud of it. And I'm proud of it not personally, but I'm observant of historical fact. And I'm not going to sit here and be shamed, especially from not a present day context or a historical context, and say, oh, all you people were cotton picking and oppressing bleeps and slavery and genocide. And oh, all that other stuff, forget about it. And oh, by the way, we're off the hook. And I can throw these stones from my glass house, because I'm aware that you're not going to hit back. You're not going to criticize Africa. You're not going to criticize bleeps. Why? Because you have been cowed and you must sit in the corner, you dunce, in shame because of what you and your people have done. You're a racist. And if you speak back and if you criticize me and my people, then I will perform social suicide on your behalf. I will fuck you up your money. I will fuck up your familial associations, your friends. They'll all think less of you because why? You went off script and you were critical of blacks and you were prideful of whites. You spoke in a positive term about white and you spoke in a less than positive term about a black. And you're not allowed to do that. And I know you're scared of it. I know you're not willing to do it. Well, that's the role I play. That's where I step in. And I recommend people join me because I'm sick of the bullshit. I was sick of the bullshit when it came to religion. This is no different. Again, seek the pattern. Seek that pattern. Everyone was fucking religious. Everyone when I was growing up. There was no atheism. There's nothing. And they're dead certain about it. The President of the United States, every speech they end it. Oh, God bless America, God bless. There is no fucking God, Mr. President. Can someone mention that? So is it dangerous to speak out against the masses? To speak out against the horde? The mob? Of course it is. You're going to make a target of yourself. But take the same principle. It's not a mistake. It's not an accident that someone who is adamant and forceful about saying there is no God, there is no afterlife, you people are weak, this is based on myth, this is based off your psychological crippling need to not accept death as a reality. I'm willing to state that. I was willing to go after the atheist community, call them out for being regressive shits, for being wrong on other things, politics and race now. So just understand, beneath all these things, all the details, all the case for reparations, the case against reparations, underneath it all is energy. You learn that in an acting class, okay? The words don't matter. You could drop the words, just make sounds. It's an acting exercise. What's your motivation and what's your energy? And if you cannot figure that out, you need to start tuning your brain to picking up that vibe because people are sending out dark, negative shade, dark energy at white people constantly. And any sort of positive affirmation about white people, white history, whiteness, white anything is shit upon. It makes them freak out because they fear your positive energy when it comes to you and your identity. They fear that. The Jewish people, God love them, love Israel, love many Jews, all the Jews. But they know, I know, this is a historical fact, they are scared to death of any identity group, even noticing that they are a majority identity. Because the Jews are never the majority identity outside of Israel. And even there, it's like it's 25% not Jews in Israel. And so what they do is they think, oh my God, discourage that. No. Divide. We don't want whites. Like, we'll let whites celebrate St. Patrick's Day because it's like, well, it's a minor thing. Who cares? It's the Irish and they're not threatening anyone. And it's like this thing. And the Italians can have their day. They can do Little Italy. They can do all that. And the Brits can have their British pubs and their soccer and their whatever. Do not unite as one group. Please don't do that the way blacks have. You notice that when he speaks of blacks, he doesn't say Jamaicans exclusively. He instantly ties it to the Caribbean people or to the Brazilians or to anyone in the slave trade. So he says Africans were brought up. Which Africans? From which tribe? What language do they speak? There's hundreds and thousands of different tribes, different cultures, different dialects. He doesn't care about those differences because united they are stronger. And that's how he views it. He says, we're all the same, blacks. In fact, they have the gall to take even further. They say people of color. They say, if you're an Indian, if you're Native American, if you're an Indian from India, if you're a Hispanic, if you're from Guatemala, we don't care. Join the cause, because together as people of color, that's a larger number. And you know who we can go up against? The whites, the monolithic whites who don't even think of themselves as whites. We don't care. We think of ourselves as Devin, as Tom, and Joan, and Barbara, and Susan. That's how we think of ourselves. We're not sitting there making coalitions of, well, the whites of Canada, unite with us, brothers, and the the whites of fucking Slovakia, join us because we need your numbers for the impending race war. No, we're doing everything else more useful with our lives. And I mean, the amount of wisdom I spit out is fucking sick. Is this recording even? It is recording. Now I'm going to go make a video. I'm working on a video of Annika sparring. And I'm going to leave this reparation debate for now. I'll come back to it. But I will leave myself with the following information. I am on an island. Okay? I'm listening to Colin Flaherty. I'm planning on interviewing him. I'm not on an island literally. I'm in Ipanema, Rio de Janeiro. But intellectually and in terms of my presence online, there's very few people that will back up what I said, will say, here, I second that. They're never going to say that. And if they do, they're an anime. No, they're definitely not an anime icon, but they're some icon and it's like a frog or a fucking groiper or something. And it's like, oh, yeah, I'm anonymous. I'm not going to put my reputation up. And I'm telling you that I'm Devin Tracy. And I'm telling you I'm the son of Paul Tracy and the son of Hugh, or the grandson of Hugh Tracy, the famous African musicologist. And I'm telling you that I'm a graduate of Palisades High, of UCLA, spent time at Berkeley. And I'm telling you I'm an Eagle Scout. As an Eagle Scout, I'm telling you this. As a representative of the Boy Scouts of America. And I'm telling you I worked for Disney and ad agencies in London and New York and Los Angeles and Pixar. I've worked at all these places. I've traveled the world. And for better or for worse, I'm in the deep end. I'm wet. I can't get dry anymore. My name is forever keyworded. I shouldn't have even come out, but now I am out. And it is important to stand behind people like me and Colin Flaherty, because it might be obvious to you. It's obvious to me. This is what I'm saying is like me explaining how to tie your shoes. This is very basic stuff. But the numbers don't line up. If you heard the Democratic debate, when they talked about race, it was like we were entering into bizarro world. I mean, it was an absolute fever dream of stupidity, insanity, and weakness. I couldn't fucking believe it. I might just watch that again and react to it because it deserves it. So I make my little videos and they get seen by a modest amount of people, and it doesn't matter. Does it matter? What does it matter? Because again, perception is reality. And if people don't hear arguments that happen to be the right arguments, happen to be based in the truth, the actual truth, not my truth, not your truth, the truth, history, then it's going to be forgotten. It's going to be put on the scrap heap of history. No one cares. So people say, Devin, I want to introduce your work to my girlfriend, but I'm scared. I don't know how to do it. How do I rue pill her? How do I get her? And I'm like, look, it's dangerous. Women don't want to hear what I have to say. They don't. This is ugly. This is not cat videos. It's the antithesis. This is not pleasant vibes. This is confronting people and their stupid shit and calling people out. And you can say, look, slavery is terrible. Yes, but you asking for money is also fucking terrible. And how dare you? You can say that. Perfectly legit thing to say. So I hope that in 2020, as we move forward, we can at least get by the hurdle, the paralyzing hurdle of the fear of being called a racist. I think if you were to look at the sting and the power that that word holds, I feel that it is diminished greatly to the point where it's an absurdity now to call someone a racist. And then you say, why? And they go, whatever. We have to do the same thing with the concept of systemic racism. It's bullshit. Call it out. If they want to talk criminals justice system, be my guest. That's the last thing you should bring up if you're trying to be an advocate for bleeps or whatever. No, it actually is the first thing. If you actually were an advocate, you should bring it up. But if you're a bullshit advocate and you just want to throw shade at white people and try to shake us down for money, never bring up crime. Never do it. Because there's going to be people who are smart enough to call you out on your bullshit. And I will do it. I will take this role. This is not what I wanted to do with my life. I have no interest in race, none. Anyone who knows me in private, and I said, you ask my girlfriend how much I talk about religion or race in our private life. Never. Never. I'm doing this as a profession now, as a job, because no one else is. Colin Flaherty is. Jared Taylor speaks honestly about this. Oh, but Devin, they have bad there's like negative stuff about them. They have reputations. No, yeah. I'm about to talk to Colin Flaherty. I've talked to Jared Taylor. This man's an educated Yale graduate, world traveler. The guy is not a monster. He's not even close. He's just right. He's just right. And you can disagree with him around the edges all you want. The man is calling it truthfully. Richard Spencer is a dickhead. Okay, it's not. There's nuance here. But I just named 3 people. Who else is there? Who else in the public, in any sort of mainstream role, is out there saying this is what's right, and I'm willing to put my name behind it? I don't care about this issue, but I care about the insanity that surrounds me. Just like I don't care about religion. You don't see me studying the books of the Bible. Like, oh, is there hidden wisdom in there? Oh, Jordan Peterson. I don't give a shit. It's all stupid. I knew that as a child. But it was worthwhile making a point of it and shaming the people who as adults, they're going to believe in this nonsense. Fuck that. I mean, here, I think there's a kangaroo on the screen, right? It has the Central Park 5 guys are all guilty. How many people do you think believe that? Take a wild stab. If CNN were to put a poll out, you think that's 10% think they're guilty? It would be less than 1%. So please understand that as I move forward and as I crank the content out, because there's a reason, there's a master arc, there's a grander story that I'm trying to tell here. There's a point, there's a finish line, there's a direction. Anyway, have a good day, guys. I'm going to work on my other video.